So basically, it's like this. White people's lives are ruled by political thugs who credibly threaten us with bodily harm if we don't do what they tell us to do. White people think more of their personal safety and their ability to purchase toys than they do of their own self-respect or their long-term self-interest, never mind the future of their own children. Therefore, in order to prevent our lords and masters from hurting us, white people crawl on their bellies with our tails thumping between our legs. Is that a fair assessment of the situation? I think it is. Now, anyone who accepts this situation without cavil and without making at least some rudimentary attempt to resist is not a man, he is a yellow dog. Are we clear on this? Good. In essence, what white males have to decide is how long we are going to be yellow dogs. The problem is that most white males no longer care whether they're perceived as yellow dogs. The average white male sits in his armchair and probably every now and then reflects in his beer and his nacho-sodden mind, I think I'm probably a yeller dog. Then he picks up the remote and he changes the channel. Now, let me make something clear here. Yet again, I'm a realist. I do not expect hundreds of thousands of middle-aged men with big bellies, accompanied by a few skinny kids with shaven heads and tattoos, to suddenly throw down their remotes, crush the last empty beer can in the six-pack, rise up, and march on Washington like the Bolsheviks storming the Winter Palace. This is not going to happen. I know it, and everybody listening to me knows it as well. What the Northwest Front can do is to locate, identify, enlighten, and motivate the tiny number of exceptions to this rule. These exceptions are most certainly out there, I know, because I hear from them every day. Slowly, ever so slowly, those rare exceptions, those lone wolves, are beginning to wander in. I'll be honest, most of them are still a bit too long in the tooth for my taste, but there are some younger people as well. Those genuine white lone wolves are beginning to find the northwestfront.org website, because one of you listening to this actually posted that website somewhere like I've asked you to. They are hearing about the Northwest novels, and in spite of the vicious attacks on Movement V bulletin boards from goat-dancing idiots, they are becoming sufficiently interested to actually order a copy of The Brigade or A Mighty Fortress from Amazon.com, or else they download it from Colonel House's free site. They are sending me serious letters and emails asking serious and intelligent questions. Okay, granted, way too much of this is still internet, but we have to start somewhere. And more actual physical meeting is taking place. We're finally getting some people who are willing to step out from behind the computer keyboard and get in their cars and do some long-distance driving, and that's incredibly encouraging. Well, that time is on its way, have no doubt of that, but if we are eventually to obtain the prize we seek, a homeland for all our people, we have to work on that moral epiphany, that awakening that I refer to so often. And a large part of that awakening is finding within ourselves the strength to banish paranoia and stop letting it rule our lives. We must understand that men, real men, are morally obligated to do what is right, because it is right. And we are not excused from this obligation simply because evil people will hurt us if we do. That, indeed, has always been a traditional price for doing what is right, to be injured by those who do wrong. We must understand that there are more important things in life than money, toys, and the goodwill of the local Rotary Club. If it helps, think of every tyrannical regime that has ever been overthrown in the past few centuries. Cromwell's England, King George's colonial governments here in the United States before 1776, the old royal regime in France, which was overthrown by the French Revolution. The revolutionary regime itself come to that, of Robespierre and Danton and Napoleon, who succeeded them, and the Russia of the Tsars, the British rule in Southern Ireland, Socialist Italy, 1922, Weimar Republic, the Shah's Iran, the old Soviet Union, East Germany. Every one of these tyrannies I just named had a secret police force of some kind, just like the FBI and the Secret Service and the Department of Homeland Security here. And yet every one of those regimes was overthrown, and the men and the institutions that supported them were dragged down into the dust. What we're talking about doing can be done, because it has been done repeatedly in the past and within living memory. Why do you think the FBI are so terrified that they're arresting people for posting a poem onto the internet? Remember, we may be paranoid about them, but they're just as paranoid about us. To them, we must seem really scary because no matter what they do, no matter how many people they arrest, no matter how many white people like Bill White and Pam Bailey are suffering in prison, we just won't go away. We're like the hydra in their eyes. They cut off one head and 9 more spring out from the bleeding stump. imperative to strike a balance. You have to think before you act, but it can be done, people. Others have done it before us, and we have to do it now, or our race, our civilization, and our species is going to perish from the face of the earth.